Good day, pupils. You're welcome once again to JC Best School International. This is mathematics class, and this class is for basic 4 pupils. And our topic for this week is identity and inverse. I hope you had a nice weekend, and I hope you are staying safe. Okay, so happy Salah celebration to our Muslim pupils. So just a brief recap of what we discussed last week. Last week we looked at what factorials and permutation, and we solved algebra, that is addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division of factorials. And in permutation we go ahead to arrange words, right? And the assignment I gave you, I told you I asked you how many ways can you arrange the word Mississippi, and you find out that we can arrange that word in 34,650 ways. That's so large. So imagine if we're doing it manually, like we did that of ABC in the last class. You can see that even for a year we will not be done, right? So our technique enables us to achieve that goal within 2 minutes. All right, so today or this week we're going to be looking at identity and inverse. Like I always say, ignore the topic, okay? Forget about the name. It is the same thing that you know. In fact, this week's topic is even the simplest of all what you've been doing so far. All right, let's quickly look at our specific objective for this class. So our objective is, by the end of the lesson, you should be able to state the properties of identity and inverse. You're going to solve problems on additive and multiplicative identity, and also our third objective, we're going to be solving problems on additive and multiplicative inverse. Okay, let me just kind of give you a brief recap of all what I mean by identity and inverse. Now, in identity, we're going to be looking at addition and multiplication. So when you hear me say additive, like here you see additive and multiplicative, it's the same thing as me saying addition and multiplication. Okay, so in identity, we're going to be looking at properties on identities. We're going to be looking at properties on on inverse. And in identity, we have addition and multiplication. And in inverse, we also have addition and multiplication. That is to say, all in all, we're going to be looking at addition on identity, multiplication on identity. We're going to be looking at addition on inverse, multiplication on inverse. It is very simple. It's something that you know, but we are just doing it in a unique way, right? So basically, what we're going to be doing in this class is very easy and very simple, like I always promise you. So just get a cup of juice and enjoy the teaching. So but before then, I want you to answer this question. Just quickly write them down in your note. What's the opposite of addition? What's the opposite of subtraction? Opposite of multiplication? And division. Okay, so you see my answer next. So if you have this answer, give yourself a big clap and continue enjoying your juice. So the opposite of addition is is subtraction. Opposite of subtraction is is addition. Opposite of multiplication is is division, and opposite of division is is multiplication. So some of these we're going to be using it as we journey through this class. Okay, so let's start with properties on identity. So in identity, we're going to be looking at addition on identity, properties of addition on identity. We're going to be looking at multiplication on identity. Okay, so we're going to understand what identity means. Identity means the thing is not changing. What is there? No matter what you put to that thing, it remains the same thing. Okay, so we're going to look at in addition, what can we put in addition that will give us the same thing, and what can we put in multiplication that will give us the same results. Okay, so let's quickly see properties on identity. Okay, or rather identity properties. So the first one, we're going to look at additive identity, or like I said, this additive, you can also say addition identity. Okay, but I prefer it this way, additive identity. So it's saying that when you add 0 to a number a, or you add a number a to 0, you get back a. So whatever you add, which number you add to 0, you get that same number. Okay, so as in my number a is is 3. So if I have here 3 plus 0, or I'll say 0 plus 3, I will get back 3. So additive identity is saying that whatever number you add to 0, you get back what? That same number. As simple as that. Okay? So for multiplicative identity, it's saying that when you multiply a number by 1, or you use a number to multiply by 1, you get what? Back that same number. So I have here a multiplied by 1, or I can say what? 1 multiplied by a, whichever way, I will get back what? A. So if my a is 3, I will have here 3 multiplied by 1 equals 1 multiplied by 3, and which will be what? 3. So all in all, we have that adding a number by 0 does not change the value of that number. The number remains the same. And multiplying a number by 1 does not change the value of that number. The number remains what? The same. So that's all you need to know about what? Identity. Okay? Identity has to do with what? Giving you the same thing, but whether you are adding it or you are what? Multiplying it. So for identity on addition, you have to add the number with what? With 0. You get back that same number. Okay? So in multiplication, identity on multiplication, you have to multiply that number by what? By 1 for you to get back what? That same results. So this is all about what? Identity. So let's look at what? Inverse properties. Like I said, identity have what? Addition and what? Multiplication. Likewise, inverse, we're going to also look at what? Addition on inverse and what? And multiplication on what? On inverse. So inverse is just the opposite. That's the reason why I asked you what the first question before we start this class. So additive inverse is the opposite. If I have 1, the opposite of 1 will be what? Minus 1. So in additive inverse, when you sum those two numbers together, you get what? 0. So I have here a. So the additive inverse of a is what? Is minus a. Such that when I say a plus minus a, I will get what? 0. So if my a is 3, so my additive inverse of 3 is what? Is minus 3. So that if I said 3 plus minus 3, it will equal to what? 0. Okay, so for multiplicative identity is the reciprocal. Okay, if I have 3 and I said, okay, what is the multiplicative inverse of 3? You just say multiplicative inverse of 3 is what? Is 1 over 3. So when you add them together, or when you multiply them together, if it's for the multiplicative inverse, you get what? 1. Okay, just a quick summary of what I've just discussed. Now for identity properties, right? For the addition, you get back that same number when you add together. For multiplication, you still get back that same number when you multiply them together. Of course, one of the number has to be what? 1. For addition, you're adding the number by what? 0 to get back the original number. For multiplication, you're multiplying the number by 1 to get back that same number. Now for inverse, okay, for addition on inverse, when you add those two numbers together, of course, one has to be what? Positive, and the other has to be what? Negative. So when you add those two numbers together, you get what? 0. Okay, now for the multiplication of inverse is the reciprocal of it, and when you add them when you multiply them together, you get what? 1. Okay, so if I have here I have a. If I multiply this by what? 1 over a, so a at the numerator cancel what? Cancels a at the what? Denominator, so I'm left with what? 1. So you're going to see this as we progress in this class. So just a quick summary of all I've been explaining. For additive identity, I say that the sum of what? Of two numbers equals what? The same number when added by what? By 0. So hence we can say that what? The identity for addition is what? Is 0. Okay, so when you add two numbers and one of that number is 0, you get back what? That same number. Okay, for multiplicative identity, the product of what? Of two numbers is equals to what? Equals to the same number when multiplied by 1. So hence we can say that what? The identity for multiplication is what? Is 1, because we are adding the number by 1. So the identity for multiplication is 1. And for the addition identity, we are adding the number by 0, and that's why we said what? The identity for what? For addition is what? Is 0. Okay, so let's look at that of what? Inverse. So additive inverse, when the sum of what? Two numbers equals 0. Like I said, one of the number has to be positive and the other number has to be what? Negative, such that when you add these two numbers together, they will be equal to what? 0. Then we can say that the first number is an additive inverse of the second number. So if the first number is 3, the second number is what? Minus 3. So 3 is what? Is the additive inverse of what? Of minus 3. So when we look at example, you're going to understand more better. Okay, so the last one we have what? Multiplicative what? Inverse. So when the product of what? Two numbers gives 1. So 1 has to be what? The reciprocal of what? Of the other, such that the second number is the multiplicative inverse of what? Of the first number when you multiply them together. And when you multiply them together, it gives what? 1. Okay, so if the first number is 3, the reciprocal of what? The reciprocal inverse of what? Of 3 will be what? 1 over 3. So when you multiply 3 times 1 over 3, it will give you what? 1. So this is all just what we're going to be doing in this class. It is very simple, very, very simple. I believe if I give you an assignment, everybody is going to submit in the next 2 minutes. It is very, very simple. Okay, if I told you that it is the simplest course you've done for throughout this thing. Okay, so let's look at examples. So we're going to be picking each of them. We're going to be picking examples on what? On addition identity. You can call it additive identity. We're going to be looking at example on what? Multiplicative identity, addition inverse, and multiplicative what? Inverse. Okay, so let's see examples. We have here examples on what? Additive inverse. So I'm having my number 5 and adding it with 0, or if you say 0 plus 5, you get back what? That same number. 0 plus 99 equals what? 99. 618 plus 0, you get back what? 618. That's all. That's all. Okay, you're not doing anything again. That's all. And that's why I say this week topic is very, very what? Simple, because there is nothing to what to do. Okay, all right, so let's look at multiplication. Multiplication identity. When you multiply 5 by 1, you get 5. 5 times 1 is what? 5. Okay, any number multiplied by 1, we get what? Back that same number. So 1 times 99 is 99. 618 multiplied by 1, we get what? 618. So that's all for what? Identity. So now we've looked example on what? Identity on addition, and what? Identity on what? Multiplication. So for the addition, we pick a number and we add it by 0, and we have that same what? That same number. Okay, for multiplication, we pick a number and multiply it by what? By 1, and we have what? That same number. So let's see that of inverse. Okay, so example on inverse, and I say, well, yeah, for the first one I have here minus 1 is the additive inverse of what? So minus 1 is the additive inverse of what? Remember, for addition, it is just the opposite. So opposite of minus 1 is what? Is 1. Okay, so minus 1 is the additive inverse of what? Of 1. And for you to really show me that yes, if this is really correct, we add what? Minus 1 plus 1 and see if we get 0. So here, minus 1 plus 1 is equals to what? 0. So the additive inverse of what? Of minus 1 is what? Is 1. It's just the opposite. That's just all you have to do. Let's see more examples. 3 is what? Is the additive inverse of what? So 3 is the additive inverse of what? Of minus 3. So that when you have what? 3 plus minus 3, you get 0. So their sum must give you what? 0. So if you're not getting 0, you have to check yourself. You're doing a mistake somewhere. So of course the two numbers has to be the same, just that one number has to be positive and the other number has to be what? Negative. And mind you, it's not all cases that the first number has to be positive. Just like in here, I have my first number to be what? Negative. So you don't have to memorize. So quickly do this and you see my answer next. Okay, so I have here minus 99 is the additive inverse of what? Of what? 99, and plus 71 is what? Is the additive inverse of what? Minus 71, such that when I add those two numbers together, I'm going to have what? 0. So when I ask you in your assignment, minus 3 is the additive inverse of what? So you have to tell me that the additive inverse of what? Of 3. And you have to show me that yes, that minus 3 plus 3 is equals to what? 0. That's just all I need you to do. One line, you are done with your assignment. Okay, all right, let's see that of what? Of inverse and multiplication. So inverse on multiplication is what? Is a reciprocal of it. If I say 1 reciprocal of 1 will be what? 1 divided by 1. If I say minus 10, reciprocal of minus 10 will be what? 1 divided by what? Minus 10. Okay, so here I have here minus 1 is the multiplicative inverse of what? Of 1 divided by what? Minus 1. And what? Plus 3 is the multiplicative inverse of what? 1 divided by what? By 3. And minus 99 is the multiplicative inverse of what? Of 99. Of 1 divided by minus 99. And 71 is the multiplicative inverse of what? 1 divided by what? 71. Now, for the multiplicative inverse, for you to be sure that your answer is correct, you have to get what? 1. Okay? When you multiply these two numbers together, your result has to be what? 1. For the addition inverse, when you add these two numbers together, your result has to be what? 0. And for the multiplication inverse, when you multiply these two numbers together, your result has to be what? 1. So in the first case, we have what? Minus 1 multiplied by what? 1 divided by minus 1. You can see here that the minus 1 at the numerator cancels what? The minus 1 at the denominator. Okay, or better still, you can say minus 1 times 1 is what? Minus 1. And minus 1 divided by minus 1 is what? Is 1. The minus at the top and bottom will what? We cancel out. So it is very simple. So for this case, I have here 3 multiplied by 1 divided by 3. So 3 times 1 is 3, and 3 divided by 1 will give me what? 1. That's all. And the third one, I have what? Minus 99 multiplied by what? 1 divided by what? Minus 99. So the minus 99 cancel minus 99 at the denominator. And my result is what? 1. Okay, let's see the last one. 71 multiplied by what? 1 divided by what? 71. So 71 times 1 is 71. Divided by 71, I have what? 1. So you see, that's just all about what? Identity and inverse. Like I told you, don't mind topic, okay? The thing there is, it is very simple. They'll just give it a name to scare you. So I hope you're enjoying your juice, and I hope you believe me that it is very simple. Okay, so far we've done identity, and in identity we look at what? Addition, and we look at what? Multiplication. For addition, we added 0 to a number, we get back that number. For multiplication, we multiply the number by 1, we get back that number. And for inverse, when you add these two numbers together, your result must be 0. And for the multiplication inverse, when you multiply these two numbers together, your result must be what? 1. So I believe all this is clear. So let's see more examples on what? On inverse, because that of what? Identity is nothing there to do, right? You're just saying 2 plus 0 will be 2, 2 times 1 is 2. So let's see more examples on what? On inverse. We're going to be solving them together, addition and what? And multiplication. So here I have here, find the additive and multiplicative inverse of what? Of 12. So for addition is what? Is the opposite, and multiplication is what? Is the reciprocal. Okay, so the opposite of what? Of 12 is what? Is minus 12. Okay, just follow my cursor. It's minus 12. So therefore the additive inverse of 12 is what? Is minus 12. That's all you have to write for me. I don't want you to be writing long story. Okay, one line. I need your answer to be in one line. That's very simple. Except you want to check and you want to show me that yes, you really know what you're doing, then you can go ahead and say what? 12 plus what? Minus 12 equals what? 0. Okay, so therefore the additive inverse what? Hold. So the reciprocal of 12 is what? Is 1 divided by 12. So in this case, you don't have to have if here is positive, here has to always be what? Positive. It's just that you're taking what? The reciprocal. So therefore the multiplicative inverse of 12 is what? Is 1 divided by 12. So if you want to check, you multiply it together and you have what? 1. So that's just it. So let's see example 2. Find the additive and multiplicative inverse of what? Minus 9 over 4. So quickly pause the video and try to attempt this and see if you will have the same answer as mine. So the opposite of minus 9 over 4 is what? Is 9 over 4. So the minus what? Will go away, and which gives us what? The additive what? Inverse. Okay, and the reciprocal of minus 9 over 4 is what? Minus 4 over 9. Okay, so minus 4 over 9 will give us what? The multiplicative what? Inverse. That's just all I need you to do. just one line, you're done with my assignment. So let's see the last example for the class today. Find the additive and multiplicative inverse of what? Of 500. So again, pause the video, try to attempt this, and you see my answer next. The opposite of 500 is what? Is minus 500, and which is what? The additive what? Inverse. And therefore we can say that what? The additive properties hold in this case. Now the reciprocal of 500 is what? Is 1 divided by what? 500, and which is what? The multiplicative what? Inverse. And for us to show that yes, the multiplicative inverse, we multiply them together and we have what? 1. For you to show for the additive inverse, you have to what? Add them together and you get what? 0. So that's all about what? Identity and what? An inverse. So in our next class, which is on Thursday, we're going to be solving what? Equations, making use of variables. Our variables are going to make use of x and y, okay, to solve what? Inverse. Okay, it's also very simple. It's something that you know, okay, it's something that you've been doing, but this time around we're going to be doing it in a unique way. Okay, so that's all for today's class. Just a quick recap of what we've achieved today. So far we've stated the properties of what? Identity and what? An inverse, which is our first objective, and we found that when we add a number to 0, we have that same number, which is called what? Addition identity, or identity on additive. And when we multiply a number by 1, we get what? Back that same number, which is what? Multiplicative what? Identity. And for inverse, when we have what? Addition inverse and multiplicative what? Inverse. For addition, the first number has to be positive, the second number has to be what? Negative. And when you add these two numbers together, your result is what? Is 0. For multiplicative inverse, the first number has to be what? 1. The second number has to be reciprocal of 1, okay, which is 1 divided by what? By that number. And when you multiply these two numbers together, your result is what? Is 1. So that's our first objective that we achieve. And our second objective, we went ahead to solve problems on what? On addition and what? And multiplication of what? Of identity. And in our third objective, we see problems on what? On additive and what? And multiplicative what? Inverse. So this is very simple. Try to go through the video 2 or 3 times for better understanding. But say it, if you have issue, don't forget to write it down on your Google Classroom. And I must commend you guys are really doing well in your assignment. Big thumbs up to you guys, and try to go through this video again. If you have any question, just write it down and try to submit your assignment on time. So have a nice day, stay safe, bye for now. We're going to meet on Thursday. Okay, bye.